I love watching people redecorating their houses, buying houses. There's a program called Love It or Listed.
I love that.
Yeah, and I like to watch Beachfront Bargain, and I'm interested in this young couple that flip houses, whether they're going to make their money or not. I love watching. I find it relaxing and entertaining and informative watching HGTV.
You know what? I don't even know what to say anymore, so I'll leave it up to the panel. Folks joining us on the Malzberg panel, it's Nomiki Konst, founder and executive director of the Accountability Project, host of the Accountability Podcast, and C. Edmund Wright, columnist, Breitbart.com, columnist, The American Thinker. And guys, this Hillary thing, and she could be in trouble, so it's going to get serious in a second. But this was part, she was in South Carolina doing a chair chat, and most of the interview was the Southern accent, the Southern drawl, which I didn't have in that particular cut, but I just thought that was so priceless. Could you just picture Hillary lounging around the house, you know, in her slippers, watching HGTV and people flipping houses? I'm sorry, Nomiki, I can't.
I actually thought she was going to start like Pinteresting things, and you know, it's also popular among the same demographic. You know, I believe it or not, and you know, I'm not light on Hillary at all. I thought this was a moment where I was like, wow, she sounds like a human being. I think she actually watches these shows. I mean, given her emails and the silly conversations she has between Huma, I'm not surprised that she does watch TV and she has this like grandma, you know, attitude. I do think that's her. And I think that they're going to focus on trying to bring that out more and more throughout the campaign.
Well, Edmund, they could try to focus on bringing it out, but you couldn't convince me, if my life depended on it, that Hillary sits around watching TV, except the news and how she's doing and all that kind of stuff. Give me a break.
Shazam, Steve. Why, she's just no ways tired. Is what she told us in Selma 4 years ago. Yep. This is so funny. She didn't sound like no senator from New York City to me. It's ridiculous.
She's not a senator from New York City.
And we missed the best part. All right, here's the thing. Now the FBI is investigating whether or not the server where her private emails, you know, were storing the emails, was secure. David Kendall has a little tiny, I don't know, kind of gadget thing that the FBI is looking into also to see if it's secure, because he got emails from Hillary. But when it comes to the server, Edmund, why the heck doesn't the FBI, just like they would do for you or me, just go seize her server?
Yeah, well, Andrew McCarthy made that point in a column today or yesterday, and you know, he's from law enforcement, so he knows of what he speaks. You know, I don't know. It's like on this one issue, she has Teflon, and yet I think we'd all agree it's hurting her in the polls.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, Nomiki, now let me ask you: the more these things happen, notwithstanding her little chair chat there, does this help? And you wrote a great piece about Joe Biden. You're an unabashed supporter of Joe Biden. God only knows why. But do you believe he will get into the race the more Hillary keeps floundering around? You
know, this is really interesting because I was just on Twitter earlier, right before the
show.
You're
always on Twitter.
Well, first thing, I'm on Twitter right now, tweeting while I'm speaking. But I saw that there's this like dynamic between the press right now about like who has the better source. You know, you had Maureen Dowd, who said that she had sources that were there, present when Beau was dying, and they knew what Joe Biden was thinking, and that's why Joe Biden was going to run. And then you have other New York Times reporters who are claiming that they have sources that say just the opposite. I find it very interesting because I think that Hillary is trying to swift boat Joe Biden now. You know, there's sources that are coming in and saying, no, he wanted to step down. Well, who are those sources? My bets are they're probably Hillary people, or they're people, consultants that worked for the Obama campaign that are now consulting with the Hillary campaign.
Edmund, but you know, this term swift boating, you have to remember that it was John Kerry's own swift boat shipmates that went on record and went on TV and came out and said, this guy's a phony baloney.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Steve. And getting back to the deathbed wish of Beau Biden, you know, it reminds me of the Paul Wellstone Memorial back in 2002. I think it's a little bit unseemly to combine politics and this culture of death.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about, you know, trying to win one for the dead person. I mean, it was a tragedy for the Biden family.
Absolutely.
Let's leave it out of politics.
I couldn't agree more. Nomiki, in the minute we have left in this segment, you mentioned Uma. Uma's in trouble. She's being investigated for false vacation and time off and getting paid money she shouldn't have gotten. And now there's a story talking about at the New York Post that she planned a party for Clinton, one of Clinton's pals, on taxpayers' money. All this Uma stuff that she worked for the Clinton Foundation while she worked for the State Department. I think Uma's going to be a big detriment, or should I call her Mrs. Anthony Weiner?
Yeah. I mean, listen, Uma's a very smart, sophisticated, she's one of the most talented staffers, if not the most talented staffer out there right now. The problem is that, you know, there's a small circle of trust in the Hillary community, and she's the most trusted ally. So everywhere Hillary went or the Clintons went, she would follow.
And Anthony Weiner. I can't wait to get Weiner in the White House. That'll be great. Up next, more of the panel, folks. But first, who's going to win the nomination? Vote for your favorite candidate, Trump or whomever, at newsmaxpolls.com. Cast your vote.
They have problems now in terms of unemployment numbers. Look at their unemployment numbers. And you have a black president who's done very poorly for the African Americans in this country. And I think that I will win the African American vote, and I think I will win the Hispanic vote. And if you see the recent polls that came out, John, you'll see that.
All right. I don't know if he's going to win the African-American vote or the Hispanic vote. He may very well as we head into tomorrow's debates. But as we welcome back the Malzberg panel, Nomiki Konst and C. Edmund Wright. I'm getting the hang of it. But there's a Newsmax poll, an exclusive Newsmax poll. It's the Newsmax Southern Political Report Survey conducted by Opinion Savvy. And it shows that Donald Trump has surged in the South to the point, Edmund, where he's leading Jeb Bush, Mike Huckabee, Bobby Jindal, Lindsey Graham, all Southerners from Southern states. And Donald Trump is leading. And by the way, Ben Carson is doing very well, too. But how do you account for, you know, the wide-ranging appeal of Donald Trump?
Well, you know, Steve, way back in 2011, you and I did an interview on an article I wrote called Trading Trump. And at that time, what I said is what I still believe. And that is Donald Trump has tapped into the mood, he's tapped into the spirit, he's tapped into what people are looking for. What I also said at the time is what I also think will happen this time is eventually his lack of conservative principles will be exposed, and it's that will hurt him. It won't be anything the Republican establishment is saying. So I'm not surprised to see this, but just a reminder, Rick Perry was at about 30% this time 4 years ago, and we saw how that worked out.
Yeah, but again, you know, people bring up Nomiki. They bring up that it was Perry, but more specifically Michelle Bachmann and Herman Cain, that they led the polls. But not to this extent. This has been for a couple of months now, and
Rick Perry did.
Okay, all right, possible exception there, yes. But you know, the lead is growing, the lead is solidifying, the appeal seems to be growing, and now to do so well in the South, according to this Newsmax poll, against Southerners, right, it's something to be said.
Well, I mean, you can't compare Rick Perry to Donald Trump. I mean, you just can't. Like, Rick Perry is a politician, and he doesn't have the scope, and he didn't have TV shows. The brand of Trump is what's carrying him right now. The bombastic nature of Trump is what's getting him the press. And every time one of his quips, you know, goes out, it falls. He has another one coming out next week. He's a master of his marketing, and he doesn't need all the consultants in the world to market the way that he's doing. And that's really what's getting him right now. I mean, there's no other question. It's just the marketing of Trump.
All right, Edmund, on the debate, I've heard that people say both ways. He's going to behave himself and you know, play by the rules, which I can't imagine him not playing by the rules. I could imagine him being confrontational, firing back, but there are those who say that, you know, he's going to overstep his time. He's going to, you know, not obey the rules. I don't see that at all. What do you see his strategy as?
No, I agree with you. As I said, I'm going to stick with my guns for 5 years now. Eventually, his lack of conservatism is going to be what sinks him, because right now he's winning the conservative base. And by the way, Nomiki, that was the most accurate description of Republican campaigns I've ever heard from a Democrat.
I know a little bit about you guys.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Edmund. You were going to say something?
Oh, Well, no, I said what I was going to say. I think that Trump is going to run into a problem. He had a very liberal answer on another cable channel just a few days ago on the 2008 economic crash, decided he would give every Democrat a pass on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I don't think that's very sound. And he's also a trade liberal. He agrees with Bernie Sanders on tariffs. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
On terrorists?
Tariffs.
Tariffs. Okay.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you know, some of these things can be overcome by things like, you know, chopping somebody's head off is a lot worse than sticking someone's head underwater and waterboarding them. I think I think he believes that, and I'm not saying he doesn't. I think those kind of things will supersede the differences that some people might have.
I just think he's going to say whatever. I mean, there's no pattern of logic in Trump's ideology. He's saying things just to get attention. I mean, the Trump that existed, he's basically like Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton changed her entire opinion on most of the policies. She's running against Bill Clinton's policies. Donald Trump is changing his mind every day because he's looking at the voters and saying,
well,
now I'm
not changing his mind every day, though. He's changed since back over the years, but he's not changing every day. I mean, that would be too much to overcome. And everybody changes. Everybody, flip-flops on something. So to be fair, I think this is going to be a hell of a debate. That's all I could say, and I can't wait to see it. I know everybody else can't wait to see it as well. Thank you very much, both of you, and we'll see you both again very, very soon. Up next, Give Me 5. But first, Donald Trump. Of course, he remains at top of the Republican polls, and his critics, some here, say he doesn't have a plan. But he does, because he wrote a book that says he'll make America great again. It's called Time to Get Tough. It outlines his plan to roll back Obama's policy, secure the border, deal with China terrorism, and more. Newsmax has a free offer for Trump's book. All you got to do is go to newsmax.com/Trumpbook. Newsmax.com/Trumpbook and get your copy now.